The first time I tell most people this story, they listen the way you listen to someone describing a dream. Politely, with that careful, nodding face people put on when they are not sure whether what they are hearing is real. I understand that reaction. I would probably listen the same way. But I want you to know something before I begin, because it matters for everything that comes after. I cannot walk. I have not walked. Not really, not on my own, not without holding on to something, in many years. At the time of this story, I used a wheelchair. My muscles did not cooperate with me. My body had decided, some years before, to simply refuse me the ordinary thing that most human beings do without thinking. The thing you did this morning on the way to wherever you are right now. I cannot walk, and yet, in what I am about to tell you, I ran. I ran at the speed of light, through a transparent tube in the middle of space, with the stars and the universe rushing past me on all sides. And my legs moved the way legs are supposed to move and never felt, not for a single stride, like anything I had ever experienced in this body. That is not a metaphor. That is what happened. My name is Lynn. In 1994, during a surgery that went badly wrong, I stopped breathing almost entirely, 4 breaths per minute, for what turned out to be 1 or perhaps 2 or 3 days. A friend of mine who was a nurse came to see me and believed each time I exhaled that she was watching my last breath. Visitors were told I would probably not survive. I survived, but that is not the part that changed me. The part that changed me was what happened between the moment everything in my body went quiet and the moment I opened my eyes in the intensive care unit, confused and more alive than I had ever been. I am telling you this story because I have come to believe that these stories belong to more than one person, that they circulate the way love circulates, landing somewhere unexpected, finding someone who was ready to receive without knowing they were ready. Maybe that is you, I do not know. But if you are still here, if you listened past the first sentence, something in you decided to stay, and I am glad you stayed. I want you to understand what my life was before this happened, so that you can understand what it meant when it did. I had stiff person syndrome. Some doctors call it Morsch-Voltman syndrome, though the names differ by region and era. It is an extraordinarily rare neurological disease. The muscles of the body become progressively and irreversibly rigid. Not stiff the way your neck is stiff after a bad night of sleep. Rigid as in locked. Unable to release, as though the muscles have forgotten the word let go and have made a permanent arrangement with tension instead. At the time of my surgery, I had been misdiagnosed for years with multiple sclerosis. The correct diagnosis came later, but the body's reality did not wait for the paperwork to catch up. I was in a wheelchair. I was completely stiffened. I had children, small children, old enough to need me present and capable and there, but young enough that they could not yet understand why their mother moved the way she moved, or why some days the distance between the bedroom and the kitchen required calculation rather than simply happening. I was trying very hard. I want you to know that because it matters. I was not passive in my difficulty. I found what I could do from where I was, from the wheelchair, from the couch, from wherever the body permitted me, and I did those things with as much intention as I had. I held on to whatever shred of purpose was available and treated it like a lifeline because it was. But there was a thought that visited me in the quiet of the afternoons, when the children were at school and the house was still. A realistic thought, the kind that arrives uninvited and sits down and will not leave until you acknowledge it. The thought was, I'm a very costly and very sick burden, and I am trying, with every strategy I have, to figure out how to still be worth the cost. Underneath the illness, underneath the wheelchair, underneath the children and the daily acts of surviving and mothering and trying to remain a person in the world, there was something else. A specific named weight that I had been carrying since I was 21 years old. Something that had nothing to do with the disease, that had arrived long before the disease, and that the disease had not created but had given new gravity to, the way illness gives gravity to everything it touches. My father died when I was 21. I'm not going to tell you the full details of what happened between us because some things belong only to the people who lived inside them. But I can tell you this, our relationship was turbulent. There was anger, mine and his, layered over something much older and much more frightened than either of us knew how to name. There was fear on both sides, and the kind of fear that does not announce itself clearly, but comes out sideways, as criticism, as distance, as the specific cruelty of people who do not know how to love without also wounding. He died before we could repair it. I was 21 years old, and I was left with something that had no resolution and nowhere to go. A wound that had never closed, because the person required to help it close had simply left. I need you to understand what it is like to carry that. Not as drama. I am not telling you this for dramatic effect. I am telling you because it is the precise weight that is going to be lifted later in the story. And I want you to feel how heavy it was before it was lifted. It is like carrying a sentence that needs to be said to someone every day for years. The sentence changes over time. Sometimes it is, I forgive you. And sometimes it is, I am sorry. And sometimes it is simply a name spoken in the right voice at the right moment. But the person you need to say it to is no longer available. And so the sentence stays inside you. It becomes part of the architecture. You build your life around it the way you build a house around a load-bearing wall. Carefully, working with its presence rather than against it, because you sense that if you knock it down without preparation, something structural might collapse. I carried that wall from age 21 into the years of illness, into the wheelchair, into motherhood, into everything. By the time the surgery came, it had been there for years. I had made a kind of peace with it. The grudging, practical peace of someone who accepts that a thing cannot be changed. Not a genuine peace, not the kind that softens the weight. That genuine peace had to come from somewhere else. In 1994, my neurosurgeon proposed something new. The idea was to implant a pump, a small device that would deliver baclofen, a muscle relaxant, directly into the space around my spinal cord. Baclofen is the medication most commonly used to manage stiff person syndrome, and the intrathecal pump delivers it more precisely and continuously than oral medication can. This was a relatively new technology at the time. The surgeon who proposed it told me he had never performed this particular procedure before. I want you to sit with that for a moment. He had never performed this procedure before. I said yes. What would you have said? When your body has been refusing you for years and someone presents a genuine possibility, a technological possibility, that something could be different, you do not spend a long time examining the surgeon's experience record. You sign the papers. You arrive at the hospital on the appointed day and you let them take you back. Something went wrong. Whether it was a miscalculation in the medication dose, a reaction between my disease and the anesthesia, or both things converging at once, I cannot tell you with certainty. I was not present for the review. What I know is that I did not wake on the expected schedule. I did not wake for a day, possibly 2 days, possibly 3. The timekeeping of that period is not something I can give you precisely. What I can tell you is what a friend of mine observed. She was a nurse. She knew clinically what it looked like when a body was failing, because she had sat beside many that were. She came to see me and counted my breaths, approximately 4 breaths per minute. She sat there and believed, with the professional certainty of someone who has attended many deaths, that each exhalation might be the last one. The visitors were told I would probably not make it. I do not remember any of this. I was not in the room. I was somewhere else entirely. I found myself inside a tube, not a dark tunnel. I want to be careful with that word, because it carries associations I do not want to bring with it. This was not dark. This was transparent, thin, like the membrane of a soap bubble, but not fragile, not delicate. You could see through it in every direction. The walls were present, they defined the space, but they were barely there. Permeable, almost, as though the boundary between inside and outside was more suggestion than substance. And the space the tube contained was the universe. Galaxies and lights, and the deep black between them, and everything rushing past on all sides as I moved. The tube extended ahead of me into infinity. It curved and twisted through space. I could see it bending far in the distance, turning in a direction that has no name in human geometry, extending forward forever. And I was moving through it. I was running. I need you to understand what this means. I had not run, not once, not for any reason, not in any form, in years. I had not walked without something to hold on to. I was a person in a wheelchair, completely stiffened, whose body and the word movement had entered into a difficult and partial negotiation that did not include speed. And now I was running at the speed of light. My legs were moving, both of them, in the full natural extension of a running stride. The push off each foot, the reach of the leading leg, the body's natural lean into forward momentum. My arms moved in counterbalance. My breath was working the way breath works when a body is running and everything is functioning as it was designed to function. I was not watching myself from outside. I was there, fully present, in a body that was mine, but also more mine than the one in the hospital bed, the body I had always been meant to have. Each stride covered, I have no other way to say this, an enormity of distance. Each step moved me through what felt like years of space. The stars changed as I ran, the angle of the universe shifted around me, the tube continued to extend and curve ahead of me, and I did not care where it ended, because the ending was not the point. The running was the point. The running was everything. I have been asked many times to describe how it felt, by doctors, by friends, by my children, who grew up hearing fragments of this story. I have tried many times to find the right words. The truest thing I can say is this: it was so freeing, so amazing, so wonderful. Those words seem insufficient on the page, I know. They seem like words a person reaches for when the real words are not available, but they are accurate. Every syllable of them is accurate, because I had not been free in that way for so long that I had forgotten what freedom in a body felt like. And the body running through that tube did not know constraint. It knew only forward. I did not know, while I was running, that I was going somewhere. I only knew the running. And then the tube brought me somewhere, and I arrived. The word I keep coming back to when I try to describe the place I arrived at is beautiful. And I want to be careful about what I mean by that word, because I do not mean it the way we use it in ordinary conversation. The way you might say a photograph is beautiful or a meal is beautiful. I mean it the way you feel something in the body when you encounter a place that your whole being recognizes as right, as familiar, as something you have been trying to remember for a very long time, without knowing you were trying. To my left, a meadow descended gently along a rolling hill. There were wildflowers scattered through the grass, many varieties, not planted, not arranged, growing the way wildflowers grow when no one has planned them. The hill curved down softly, and the grass was the kind of green that does not exist in photographs, that requires the actual experience of standing in front of it to understand. Ahead of me and to the right, a forest, lush, dense, the deep, permanent green of old growth. The kind of forest that has been forest for so long. It has a quality of settled presence, as though the trees and the air around them have made a permanent arrangement. The light in this place had no visible source, no sun, no direction I could point to. It was everywhere and even, warm in the way that something is warm when it has decided to be there, when the warmth is a quality of intention rather than a quality of physics. And there was the wall. Behind the two figures who were present in this place, a stone wall rose. Old, covered in ivy, clearly long-standing. I could not see over it or around it. It separated what I was in from whatever was beyond it, and what was beyond it was not given to me. The wall was not hostile. It simply was, with a complete matter-of-fact presence, marking a limit between what I was permitted to see and what I was not. In front of the wall, someone was working. A figure, a man, I understood him as a man, with a rake, drawing slow and careful patterns in the gravel at the base of the wall. The patterns were deliberate, meditative, the kind of purposeful, repetitive motion that is more about presence than product. He attended to his work with quiet focus. He was not urgent. He did not look up. His back was always toward me, and the face I needed to see, and the face I had been trying to reach since I was 21, remained turned away for the entire time I was in that place. I knew him, not from the face, because there was no face to know. I knew him the way you know something in a dream, the absolute wordless certainty that bypasses every mechanism you normally use to identify a person and goes directly to something older, something that lives below the level of thought. That was my father. He was there to know that I was well, and he was there, I felt this with the same certainty, so that I could finally know something about him that I had never been permitted to know in the years between his death and this moment. That beneath the anger, beneath the fear, beneath all of the turbulence that had made our relationship what it was, beneath all of it, he had loved me deeply, completely, in the way that fathers love daughters, when the love is real and the wounding is only the shape the love had to take, because neither of them knew a better shape yet. He was there, patient and unhurried, raking gravel in a place of peace, and his presence said everything that could never be said in words, in precisely the way that the most important things are sometimes said. I stayed and watched him for what felt like a long time, not from grief, from something closer to gratitude. The other figure in that place was different. I do not know how to tell you what he was, except to start with what he was not. He was not a person the way my father was a person, or the way I am a person. organized into a human frame I could point to and describe with confidence. He was not reducible to form in the way that form usually works. He was not, for lack of a better word, made of matter. He was made of love. I do not say that as a poetic choice. I say it because it is the most accurate description I have of what I experienced. Everything about him, every quality of his presence, every way he occupied the space he was in, exuded love the way a lamp exudes light. Not as something he was producing, as something he was. The way wetness is not something water does, but what water is. Love was his substance and his surface and everything in between. And without hesitation, without preamble, he took me into his arms. I want to tell you carefully what happened next, because this is the center of everything. The disease, the surgery, the transparent tube, even my father at the wall. Everything else orbits this. He held me. He fed me with something I can only describe as the thing I had been starving for without entirely knowing I was starving. He filled something in me that had been empty for so long. The emptiness had become a kind of normal, a baseline I had adjusted to and called simply the way life is. All of the things I had been carrying for years, the grief, the loneliness, the weight of being costly and sick, the deep, unasked questions about whether I was worth the cost of my existence, all of it was answered, not with arguments, not with explanation or evidence or theology, with holding, with presence, with love that communicated itself directly as light, without the medium of language. It was all communicated to me without any words whatsoever. I felt healed of my deepest grieving and my greatest loneliness. I felt, and this is the precise thing, and I want to give you the precise thing, that I was a person of worth, not because I had earned it, not because I had succeeded at the requirements my circumstances had set for me. Intrinsically, just as I was, costly and sick and afraid and carrying years of unresolved grief, none of that reducing by a single degree the completeness with which I was loved, unquestionably, deeply, exactly as I was. At the time, I thought of Jesus. I was raised Mormon, and that was my frame, and that is the honest truth. Later, as the experience settled into me over the years, I came to feel that the name did not matter as much as I had thought. The love was real, the healing was real. Whether the being who held me has a name in one human tradition, or 100 traditions, or no name that any tradition has yet found, what happened in that moment was real, and what it left in me was real. And then I woke up in the ICU. That is the entirety of the transition I can offer you. There was no gradual fading, no corridor leading me gently back from the meadow to the hospital. I was there, held, healed, free. And then I was in the ICU with the sounds and the lights and the particular quality of air in a room designed for critical care. I was alive. My friend the nurse was, I am told, somewhat surprised. In the years that followed, I left the organized religion I had been raised in. Not in bitterness, but because what I had experienced made the external rituals feel like scaffolding around a building that no longer needed scaffolding. I began giving directly, to people, to specific human beings in front of me who had a need, not to institutions. I became more attentive to vulnerability, to animals and to people whose circumstances had reduced them to something the world was not particularly interested in attending to. I found that compassion, specific, practical, directed compassion, was one of the few things I could do from wherever I was. The medications I was on in the years after the surgery were, the doctors told me, at dosages that would erase memory in most people, and many of my memories from that period are gone. People I knew, events I attended, whole seasons that left no trace. The dosages were necessary for managing the disease, and the cost was memory. But the near-death experience is untouched. It is as vivid today as it was the day I first tried to put it into words. The tube, the stars, the meadow, the wall, the man with the rake who would not turn around, the one who held me and gave me love without a single word, all of it. Some years after the 1994 surgery, I had a second cardiac arrest. During a different procedure, a plasma exchange. CPR was performed. My sternum was fractured. I survived. But this time, there was no experience, no tube, no meadow, no father, no being of love, just the unconsciousness and then the waking. I mention this because I have been asked whether what happened in 1994 might have been a drug effect, a product of the anesthesia or the emergency medication. The reasonable question that reasonable people ask. The second arrest was at least as medically severe. There was nothing. One of my children asked me years later after hearing parts of the story, "Did you see it from your own point of view? Or as if you were watching a film of yourself?" From my own point of view, every step of it, every stride through that transparent tube, in the body I was always supposed to have. Present, fully present, running. I have thought many times about what this experience is for, why it happened to me, and whether the fact that it happened to me means anything. I have arrived at the simplest possible answer, the one that was communicated to me in that meadow without language, and that I have spent 30 years trying to translate back into words. It is all about love. That is all. That is very simple. Not love as a feeling that comes and goes. Not love as a reward for behavior. Not love as the transaction we sometimes mistake it for. Love as the substance of things, the material out of which whatever exists on the other side of that stone wall is constructed. The Father raking in silence, telling me without turning around that he had always loved me. The being who held me without words because words were not the point. The running itself, the free running through the universe in a body that finally knew how to run, that too was love. A gift given not because I had earned it, but because I was there, and it was possible to give it. If you are carrying something today that has no resolution, a wound with someone no longer available to help you close it, a question about whether you are worth the cost of your own existence, a grief that has been with you so long it has become furniture, what I saw in that place suggests those weights have an answer. Not one you can reach from inside the situation, not a fix you can engineer from your own strength, but an answer that comes from somewhere outside the situation entirely, from something that knows you more completely than you know yourself, and is not keeping the score you are keeping. I cannot prove this to you. I can only tell you what happened to me. What I can ask is this. This is NDE Cosmic Legacy. Every week, we bring you one account like Lynn's, one carefully researched story of a person who went to the edge of life and came back carrying something that changed them. If this story found you today, there are hundreds more waiting. If something in this story landed for you, if the running or the Father at the wall, or the being who communicates without words found a place in you where something needed to land, leave a like, not as a gesture toward an algorithm, as a small, quiet acknowledgement that this kind of story deserves to find the people who need it. Every like is a lantern left in the path. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you would like to be here when the next story arrives. Next week, we return with another voice, another account of someone who crossed the threshold and brought something back. Leave something in the comments. You do not have to write much. You could write a single word, the name of someone you are carrying, or the name of someone who left before you could finish what needed to be said, or simply the word running, if that is the image staying with you. And if you know someone who is sitting beside a bed tonight, keeping vigil, waiting through a procedure, carrying the weight of not knowing what comes next, pass this to them. You do not need to explain why, just pass it. This is how the lantern moves. Person to person, story to story, it is all about love. That is all. That is very simple. Light your lantern, pass it to whoever you know is sitting beside a bed tonight. We will see you next week.